appreciate the opportunity again. I am not John Morton. We have the same height, but John has lost his voice last night. I was going at the end of the night, and he couldn't speak this morning. So I am going to fill in for him in this part of the debate. But we share the exact same views on the robot. I will tell you I'm a dabbler. I use it here and there, but I don't use it for every case, nor do I find the need to do that all the time. I have no neck injury at this time in my life, so I could understand absolutely your need. Also, this presentation will show you that I don't have any fancy video because you don't need it. I'm not going to have to razzle dazzle, maybe. But if I have a presentation, maybe it'll be good too. What's that?
You're allowed to use robot at your institution?
Yeah. So the one I work at two separate two main hospitals, and actually the university we have the XI with an extra console and an SI, but I only do bariatrics on an XI if I'm going to do it. The other hospital where I do the most of my work, they only have an SI, so I just won't do it. I do gallbladders and things like that. So. All right, so I have the pleasure of doing the robotic no. So limitations of conventional laparoscopy, it's two-dimensional visualization, but the reality is there are companies out there now with three-dimensional visualization without the robot. Limited range of motion, well, there are new wristed instrumentation that very, very good stuff. And the surgeon fatigue from abdominal wall fulcrum, well, it's true. As you increase your volume, you decrease your time. That's definitely, I've seen that over time. And the pre-op weight loss can definitely help with decreasing the abdominal wall problems. Is it on a different computer now? Okay. As you see, these are the numbers. You've seen this slide probably a couple of times now. Majority of bariatric cases do not require sewing, as you can see in the numbers now. Most of them are in a single quadrant, and the majority of revisions are band removals. So, okay. The robotic technical issues, and I will say this is maybe less controversial than this slide. The XI provides a very different environment, and you were using the XI in the videos you were showing very clearly. But if an SI is what you have, a single quadrant, it's very hard to deal with. Difficult to undock and dock. The arms may be impeded by the patient's size, and the setup requires a special team. Without a doubt, this is the biggest problem with any place I operate, having the team do the robotics. They always complain when we're going to use it. So, robotic outcomes, there's issues with missed enterotomies via the FDA reporting, leaks as plus and minus, and I think we could talk a little bit about that, and higher stricture rates. And I think we saw some data in yours that was a little different. But robotic isn't, so I think this is interesting because you'll find just as many articles saying the robot's bad as there are the robot's good. So current status of robotic bariatric surgery, a systematic review, a different group of people, their conclusion was that the robot is not superior in complex cases. The anastomotic leak rate in the BPD was higher than in the bypass. So again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's superior. Longer OR time, I know you tried to show us that, but 15 minutes when I'm doing 4 cases in a day is an hour. And when I have longer turnover times because I don't have the same fantastic team you have at an epicenter, then that just adds a significant amount of time to the day. So the time is longer. The surgical site infections were higher and the leak rates were higher in this study. And this is a 2016 study, or no, 2018, I'm sorry. This is before the Sureform. This is before the robotic stapler, so this is someone else firing a stapler for you after you've done your work, or you've done the takedown and you're stapling yourself. So it's a hybrid. So I think the robotic stapler may change things a little bit. We talked about longer time. In this case, doing the bypass is definitely longer in this case. Now, certain surgeons and certain techniques, I think, have overcome this, and almost like Eric Wilson does a significant left upper quadrant, single quadrant bypass because he's been doing it on the SI for years, and now he's on the XI. So I think there are some people doing it, but in general, it's longer. The other big advantage for robot bariatrics is the hand sewing. Well, that's not a concern for me. I do a hand sewn technique anyway, and the robot actually doesn't make it any faster for me. In fact, I'm faster laparoscopically. Increased cost. So I think it's debatable. I liked your slide. I think that was a very good use of showing it. And you're right, it's the reusable instrumentation that changes some things. And I think you have a team that's not probably opening up extra instruments because they know that they're being cost efficient. But in general, this study showed that the cost for a bypass was about $12,000 with a range of $9,000 to $15,000. The sleeve was $10,000 and $9,000 for the band. So there was definitely a significant increase relative with robotics. And it adds much cost as comorbidity, essentially in this study, which was done out of Cleveland as well, and this was published in 2017. They looked at 45,000 patients, and when you looked at it again, that's that same cost, but the comorbidities, they increased with the SSI and overall increased cost. It increases cost by 3.6 times in this study. I think you showed something different, but so again, robotic systems are expensive. They may increase complications, but I do think future systems are going to increase capability. Intuitive is no longer, I think, going to be the only gorilla in the room. There will be other opportunities. I think transenteric. I believe Medtronic has one coming. There may be others I'm unaware of. So that's going to change. That's going to probably bring the cost of the systems down. But I don't know that you need it for every case. The visualization is very nice, but I think visualization is just as good with some of the newer laparoscopic equipment. The Firefly is not the only thing that's necessary. The Stryker system has that same capability built into the camera system. So there are a lot of opportunities. All right. And John thanks you as well as I do.
I've heard more than Mike and Dr. Maria and Dr. Peterson himself complaining about insurance companies, over the denials and everything for patients and everything. So how do you get the insurance companies to pay for robotic surgery if laparoscopic surgery is not very?
So there is no code for robotic or laparoscopic surgery, right?
I'm not.
Yeah, there's no code. There's no such
Yeah,
there's no such a thing.
okay.
So when you get approved for laparoscopic / robotic. It doesn't matter. So
The cost is not increased.
Our cost.
okay.
No.
No increased cost to the patient. I think it's to your
No,
question.
Yes.
No increased cost.
No.
It's the same cost.
Okay.
He's asking about revisional surgery, not primary surgery.
It doesn't matter either or. There's no.
Any surgery.
There's like no robotic bariatric or bypass code. It's just you do it and then you choose to use robot or not, but what the cost is. And in his system, it looks like it's going to be cheaper, right? Whereas my system, it may not be because we don't have the same.
It's the volume.
Yeah, it's the volume.
Because when you add colorectal, thoracic, os, so everything comes into the negotiation, right?
Yeah, I would say one of the cost concerns that you see a lot of time is that they're always putting the direct cost to the robot, and they put that in everybody. But the reality is if you diffuse that over colorectal, urology, GYN, everybody's taking a piece of that and spreading it out. I don't think the cost is as...
Well, I was not aware of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
How many robots are in the U.S. right now?
My institution has 16. But like HCA, which is one of the largest, a couple of months ago, they bought like at one time 80 robots. But they're one of the largest systems, right?
Well, it's interesting, right? So at San Antonio, I mean, at the one hospital, the community, we have one robot, SI. The university has two robots, an XI and an SI. A Methodist hospital in town has 10 robots in its own, and they have less ORs than the university. So it really just depends on the system, and the volume and what they're doing.
So the way I see it is like, if the largest, one of the largest corporations in America, which is for profit, ACA, buys 80 robots, that means they're making money out of it, right? They're not going to lose money, right? So that's how you see it.
¿Alguna otra pregunta para alguno de los profesores? Bueno, muchas gracias. Vamos al receso y nos vemos.